Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the beginning of the second term of President Barack H. Obama. Well, also welcome to my sister in St. Louis, Susan, who I am told by Jess is not feeling well. Hello?
Hi, I'll be okay.
All right. Will ya? Because you don't have... You okay?
No, I'll be okay.
All right. Did you happen to watch?
No, that's all I did.
Yeah.
I kept thinking, now, you don't have to watch every single minute of this, but I did sort of.
Because you get really pulled in.
Right.
I know. So that's what I did, too.
And I have to say, I really liked Michelle's coat and belt, but I didn't like the dress underneath.
I agree. I agree completely. I didn't understand the dress underneath, but that coat was beautiful.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Gorgeous,
and
gorgeous,
what
gorgeous.
she did by taking a J. Crew sash and making it into a belt, it was so good looking.
Yeah, she's something. Anyway.
Got a good eye.
Yeah, she looked good. So, we got to talk about the speech, because I was saying I had 4 years ago on his first inauguration, I was so bummed by his speech. And I don't know if you recall, I mean, all the soaring rhetoric of the campaign.
Yeah, his inaugural was underwhelming.
Well, and partially because remember where we all were at that time.
Right.
We were heading into a
depression.
We were heading into a depression, and he was very serious and sober, and it was just not, you didn't feel good after it. It wasn't soaring. And I said, maybe yesterday or the day before, that I was so hoping that he would reclaim his place as this, great orator. And I thought the speech was simply wonderful. And
yeah, we the people liked it.
Yeah, we. There was so much. It was such a pushback to this Republican sense of, I did it myself. I built that. You didn't do anything. It's everyone for themselves, and you're a taker, and I'm a doer, and It was such a wonderful thing. There was a point at which he used the word together. I mean, it's like nothing gets done unless together. And then I just, it was, I thought, just wonderful. I just wanted to scream with joy. I thought, as has been said by others, it's like he laid down sort of a total vision of, I guess, of liberal government. That is the liberal credo he put forward.
Right. And without apology.
No apology. And it was so, God, was it satisfying to hear a president say these. Let's go
back to reality, where it's a simple statement of truth that, among other things, we believe in science.
Ha! Right. He did say that, didn't he?
Yeah, he did say that.
one of the, I think, smarter people who writes about politics is a guy named Charles Pierce who writes for Esquire. And let me just read some of what he said about it. He said this speech was a clear statement of progressive principles, as clear a statement as a president has given since LBJ got up there and shoved the Voting Rights Act and the words "we shall overcome" right up old Richard Russell's ass in 1965. And that'd be about it. And then he says, the speech was a bold refutation of almost everything the Republican Party has stood for over the past 40 years. It was a loud and, for this president, damn near derisive denouncement of all the mindless, reactionary bunkum that the Republicans have come to stand for. You could hear the sound of the punch he landed on the subject of global warming halfway to Annapolis. But the meat of the speech was a brave assertion of the power of government, not as an alien entity, but as an instrument of the collective will and desires of a self-governing people. Yep.
Yep, and we the people were out there saying, "You're damn right, it's we the people."
Right. It was. I just thought it was wonderful. And and Pierce goes on to say, I'll finish this up. We are not free because we are individuals, the president told us, daring people to hold two ideas in their heads at a time without their brains leaking out of their ears. We are free because as individuals we work together in the creative act of self-government to produce a viable political commonwealth in which that freedom can thrive and prosper. And the primary instrument of that commonwealth is the government we devise out of it. That government must be allowed to function. That government must be allowed to operate for this freedom to be generally achieved. That is what it was, I just thought, brilliant.
Well, and he reminded all those yahoos what the oath they took was about.
True. I don't know what. I just thought there were so many great lines in it. We the people understand that our country cannot succeed when a shrinking few do very well and a growing many barely make it. We believe that America's prosperity must rest upon the broad shoulders of a rising middle class. We know that America thrives when every person can find independence and pride in their work, when the wages of honest labor will liberate families from the brink of hardship. We believe that every citizen deserves a basic measure of security and dignity. We must make the hard choices to reduce the cost of health care and the size of our deficit, but we reject the belief that America must choose between caring for the generation that built this country and investing in the generation that will build its future. I thought it was just brilliant.
Yay.
We, the people, still believe that enduring security and lasting peace do not require perpetual war. We, the people, declare today that the most evident of truth, that all of us are created equal. That is the star that guides us still, just as it guided our forebears through Seneca Falls and Selma and Stonewall. Whoa. Our journey is not complete until our gay brothers and sisters are treated like anyone else under the law, for if we are truly created equal, then surely the love we commit to one another must be equal as well. I love these things. I loved what he said. Our journey is not complete until no citizen is forced to wait for hours to exercise the right to vote. Our journey is not complete until we find a better way to welcome the striving, hopeful immigrant. It was all about we. It was all a sense of communal action.
And it was the pushback of us against the bullying, noisy few.
Yeah. Well, the problem is the bunting comes down. They take the stage down, and you know damn well.
Yeah, I know. And then we get back to the hard work of governing. Please, God, let them try and govern.
I don't know. I look at that sour-faced Eric Cantor, and I look at that, and I'm glad
Don't you just hate him?
I cannot tolerate him.
I hate him.
Yeah, and he seems like the sort of the smart aleck kid in school you wanted to kill.
Yeah, I know.
You wanted to kill him.
I just wish his name were Smith.
For those of you who didn't understand that, it's because Cantor, to us, and I don't think a lot of other people necessarily know, is a Jewish name, and we don't want him. There aren't a lot of Jews in that party, but there's more than there used to be. Anyway, so I just thought it was wondrous, truly wondrous, and I got nervous when he got out of the car.
You too?
Yeah.
I'm scared again.
I kept saying, go back in that car. This is stupid. I'm always nervous.
I'm scared again.
Well, I was
scared again because we're feeling hope.
And that's always when these.
And that's always like, I'm trying not to go there because I am also feeling hope, and I'm sure that everybody else is aware, and they are hyper vigilant.
Oh yeah, there was an interview I heard recently. It was some Secret Service guy who said, a former one, because he was speaking freely, and he said he's aware that there has never ever been the kind of constant threat to a modern president that Obama endures. I just can't even imagine.
And his whole family.
Yeah. So I'm thinking when they get out of that car, you think they're not thinking? I'm vulnerable.
Of course they are.
And yet they're smiling and waving, and I kept thinking, Jesus, God, this is like when, oh my God, I kept saying, get in the car. They didn't stay out that long. I just, I don't know.
Well, they made it.
Is it amazing, though, that the Secret Service can allow that, even with all of those people and all of those buildings, and that they feel that is a secured area? It's amazing.
Yeah. And and I think that they're so smart that they, even if you notice how they position themselves around them, and
right.
that there's a geometry to what they're doing.
Oh yeah, I know they've got
so,
it figured out.
it's they.
Oh, I don't know. So, gosh, I wish him well.
I do too.
Okay, here's some other random thoughts. These are all going to be random thoughts. I couldn't believe when the parade was going on and I saw that he looked like he was chewing gum.
Well, it was Nicorette.
Nicorette. Then I realized he wanted a cigarette so bad.
He wanted a cigarette so bad he couldn't stand it. And what I couldn't believe was how easy and natural and unaffected they were with that camera staring them in the face. They were just being sort
regular,
of normal, alternately bored and fooling around. And
I think that that family is so charming in their naturalness and in their seeming absolute normalness.
Just the scene of when when Malaya was trying to take a picture.
Uh-huh.
and she kept making them kiss each other.
Mm-hmm.
And she kept not getting the picture, and her sister kept sticking her face in.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just sitting there doing it.
They were having fun. They were
like the whole world wasn't.
I know. Well,
watching and being thoroughly charmed.
But I think, this is why you see when people say that he, as a person, even Republicans are acknowledged that this guy is likable, that there's something likable about, them, that personally people like him. There's something so, and the kids seemingly so damn normal. Just, wow. That's all I have to say is wow. What else? I didn't like her red ball gown.
You didn't?
No. Just wasn't anything special at all.
And nothing special, huh?
Yeah.
I'm back and forth about her hairdo, frankly.
Well, when I first saw it, I did not like it, and now
it's growing on
it's
you.
growing.
I just don't. I like her with a little more volume. I think it weighs her down a little bit.
You want some more on top.
Yeah.
Height, but But you know what? It makes her look so young.
Yeah, it did.
She looks like a little kid.
Well, she also looked like she'd lost weight to me.
I don't know.
Well, her arms are always toned, but fairly strong looking. And last night they looked thin in a way that they don't usually look.
I hadn't noticed that.
And it's funny because I don't try and notice these things. Isn't it interesting the way women just, assess women? It must be the things that we worry about on ourselves.
Well, I mean, there's not a woman alive that doesn't look at her arms and think, oh, I want those arms. Oh, give me those arms. Yeah, her arms are gorgeous. But I didn't notice they were a little thinner. Whatever. But yeah, we all look, I know. But boy, you're going to be seeing a lot of belted little coats like that, I'll tell you.
Well, you sure are.
Adorable.
But one of the reasons that she can do those belts and the girls do the belts so well is because they are tall. They are bean poles. They are tall and long torsoed and narrow, and they've got all this room.
Yeah.
To take up.
Right.
Those of us that whose shoulders sit on their waist don't have.
Who don't have long torsos?
Don't have room for all that stuff.
Listen to this. Barbara just sent me an email saying this is what Bob Schieffer said. Well, it was a very unusual inauguration speech and that there were no real memorable lines. How could he say that? I thought I just read a bunch of them.
Well, I think when you're listening to it for the first time, they follow one on the other. That it took a while for me to digest the speech.
Well, I suggest everybody go back and read it.
Because you couldn't stop. They just kept coming, and it was Mom talked to me right after, and said, "How was it?" And I said, "It was really good, but I can't tell you."
Oh, you can't give a.
Right, I couldn't throw it right back. I was just.
Yeah. Rich is wondering, and I noticed this too, Rich. He says, I noticed that the president's middle name, which is why at the beginning of the show I said this, middle name, Hussein, was not used throughout the ceremony except for the actual oath. Like when they introduced him, they referred to him as President Barack H. Obama throughout the ceremony. But when he took the oath, John Roberts, the Chief Justice, said Barack Hussein Obama. And Rich is saying, I wonder if he did that on purpose to insert. No, I don't think so.
I think that he goes by,
Barack Obama. He doesn't even go by the H.
Yeah, and he barely uses the H, but if he were, it was, W didn't, he used his middle initial, but during the oath they say the whole name.
But why?
It's a formal, legal.
Yeah, but that doesn't explain. I agree with all that. But it doesn't explain then why he's announced as President Barack H. Obama. Nobody calls him Barack H. Obama. He's President Barack Obama. What was that H?
Maybe we have some state maybe there's this is part of formal dignitary way of doing
I don't know, but
formal
it was
protocol. That's the word I'm looking for.
Okay, we have a caller. Hello, caller.
Hello. Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
Did you notice that when John Roberts gave the oath of office and he said, "So help me God," the tone he said it in was almost like a question to Barack Obama and not a statement, just the way he said it? Did you notice that?
No, I didn't. So he said, "So help." I don't know.
So help me God?
I didn't notice that. And then the president said, "So help me God."
Right.
Well, those two, I don't know. I mean, that must, I bet they're both glad that's over and they don't have to look at each other again for 4 years.
Well, you do know that
dealt him a solid.
Excuse me?
You do know that Obama did not vote for Roberts to be on the Supreme Court.
Right. He did not.
He did not.
He did not.
So I wonder.
Oh, sure. It starts from that. He was one of, I think, only 9 senators who didn't vote to confirm Roberts. And, of course, that would start the trouble. But then Roberts was totally offended. If you'll recall, the president's State of the Union address right after the court had handed down its despicable Citizens United opinion, which, opened up American politics to the rich to have their say, have their day, have more clout than any of the rest of us. And at the State of the Union address, with the Chief Justice sitting there, the president ripped into that opinion. And Roberts said later that, first of all, he really felt assaulted. He was not able to in any way respond. He thought he was enraged that the president did that to him.
Okay. You mind if I change the subject real quick for a minute?
No.
Okay. Last week, you remember you got the email from the person about the gun control, and he was saying how we should try to educate people.
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah, win hearts and minds, right.
Do you think you could win the heart and mind of Adam Lanza by anything he could say? I mean, or hear or see?
Well, no, not him, but no. But I think what the guy was saying is that legislation's one thing, but you're not going to win this unless you start changing the way Americans think about the Second Amendment, and that it's insane the way it's been distorted, I think.
And it's recent. So, yeah. But no, for somebody who's mentally ill, deranged, or whatever, of course not. And there's this horrific, I was starting to think maybe every day I should do the latest massacre story, because there's always one. And there's what is this? Some kid in New Mexico
blew away his entire family, 3 siblings, his parents, and by all accounts, a wonderful family.
Well, if you listen to the local Pittsburgh news, there hardly is a day that goes by that you don't hear a story
about
that somebody's been shot.
Exactly right. It's unbelievable that we fail to act. Unbelievable. Thank you for your call.
You're welcome. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Susan?
Okay, well, I want to say a couple of things about Roberts.
Okay.
And them standing across from each other. I mean, Roberts did Obama a real solid with the health care decision. And when you look at the Citizens United decision and how it's played out, in fact, we were tortured by a lot of horrifying ads. But really, we just took a lot of money from a few really awful rich people and redistributed it, and they got nothing for it.
Yeah, so you took Sheldon Adelson and all these other jerks.
Right, and the Koch brothers, you took all their money, and they got nothing for it.
Yeah, there's a lot of rich television types.
So maybe it turns out that the American public, by and large, is, can't be bought and swayed that easily. That, it becomes white noise, and eventually you begin to figure out that it's all nonsense.
Okay, well, I hope you're right, but here's what I want to say. I think that might play out, what you're saying, on the national level. But these people's money now
on the local level, that's where we're in trouble. I understand.
Can target House races, can target gubernatorial races, and there the pushback is not the same. And so it's disgusting. That's a terrible, terrible, terrible decision. And also, there's some people. I think George Will had a column yesterday or something. I didn't read it. He annoys me so much. I often can't read.
Yeah, I haven't.
No, but his thing is that he was saying that the Roberts decision on the Obamacare might have sort of a ticking time bomb in it, and because it I'm not sure. I mean, if you parse the entire opinion, that he allowed it to go forward, the opinion allowed it to go forward, but also hamstrung it in some, I guess, major ways in which, I guess, states can sort of scuttle it, which you see them doing, or make it more difficult, whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to give up.
We'll see what happens. But I think what you're going to see is people come on board. I mean, if, what's her name from Arizona can do it,
Ugh, that awful prune-faced woman.
Yeah.
Okay. We're talking about the governor of Colorado, what's her name? Janet? Jean?
Is it Colorado or Arizona?
Arizona. It's Arizona. I get all those.
I know those the four corners. You get them all screwed up. Me too.
And not to mention Wyoming and all those big.
And Nevada. Where the hell are they?
All these big western states. And
Utah's in there someplace too.
Oh yeah. Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, Wyoming, Montana. I have trouble picking them out on maps.
I know.
I can mix up Kansas and Nebraska, too. Not to mention, I don't know what. Yeah, it's hard. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Lynn Cullen Live and Panera Bread celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King.
On June 23, 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. led 125,000 people on a great freedom walk in Detroit. Introduced as America's beloved freedom fighter, he called the event the largest and greatest demonstration for freedom ever held in the United States, adding that segregation is a cancer in the body politic, he continued. We are through with segregation now, henceforth, and forever. The Freedom Walk in Detroit was in many respects a rehearsal for the upcoming March on Washington.
Countdown to King, brought to you by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health, and Lynn Cullen Live.
Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on meals from your favorite local restaurants, museums, and shows. This week only, get discounts up to 20% on gift cards to P.F. Chang's. Supplies are limited. bergbargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. bergbargains.com.
Today, My Care Navigator forwarded my medical records and freed my mind for other things.
Introducing My Care Navigator, your 24/7 healthcare co-pilot, new from Highmark.
My Care Navigator found me the ideal specialist. Less work for me.
My Care Navigator makes it easier to navigate the system. Call 1-888-BLUE-428 to connect with yours today. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield is an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn@pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
All righty, welcome back. I'm here. My sister Susan's here. Eugene Robinson, writing in the Washington Post, wrote as a black man. And you saw that the crowd on the mall was, I thought, the number of African Americans there looked almost disproportionate. That for African Americans, this is so still huge. And Robinson...
Well, the second time means it wasn't an act. It wasn't...
Well, that's
you know,
what he
they meant
says.
it.
Well, that's what Robinson says. He says President Barack Hussein Obama's second inauguration was every bit as historic as his first, not because it said so much about the nation's long, bitter, unfinished struggle with issues of race, as was the case 4 years ago, but because it said so little about the subject. A black man stood on the Capitol steps and took the oath of office as President of the United States for the second time, meaning that not only did voters elect him once, which could be a fluke, a blip, an aberration, a cosmic accident, but they then turned around and did it again. That's big. Then, just reminding us of, if you're looking at this president and that first family through the eyes of a African-American person in this country, he reminds us that he grew up in the South and he lived through, you know, the defeat of Jim Crow, and he's seen a lot. And on Monday morning, he writes, before the inauguration, Obama took his family to worship at St. John's Episcopal Church near the White House. Television images of the president, his wife Michelle, and his daughters Malia and Sasha entering and then leaving the church were charming but unexceptional. But they made me cry. I have always believed that those pictures of family life are one of the most important legacies of the Obama presidency. For most people, visual information is uniquely powerful. What we see has more impact than what we hear. Pictures of an African-American family enveloped by Secret Service protection, ferried down Pennsylvania Avenue in armored limousines, returning at night to sleep in the grand residence of the nation's head of state. These images show us something new about what is possible, something new about ourselves. So it's still huge to an awful lot of people in this country. And the re-election, right, was really just putting an exclamation point on it. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm trying to think
well,
about...
so that's why we were both, you know, just...
riveted. Had
stuck
to stay.
Watching it all day.
Yeah, had to watch. Actually, I was stuck watching because the damn person coming to fix my oven didn't come till 6.
Oh, of course, they never do. Did he fix your oven?
Yeah, by the time, after spending an entire day waiting for him, in which I actually paid someone to cover my house in the morning, when they said they came, but nobody... beyond belief. Beyond belief. The entire day. It took him 20 minutes to fix it when he finally came.
They snapped the new door in.
Yeah. Well, it's part of a door. It wasn't the whole door. Who knows? Whatever. I didn't pay a penny for that.
Well, that's good.
That's right.
Except for your whole day being aggravated.
Yeah. Well, Susan, I want to express our condolences for St. Louis's loss of Stan Musial. I know.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't care?
Well, no. I mean, he was a wonderful guy, and he really was a wonderful guy.
No, I know that. That's why I'm saying
that.
But
I can't tell you
You're
what
sick
has
of
been
it.
going on.
All right, it's enough already. You're sick of it.
It is just like... that's fine, but he was a baseball player. He was,
and a nice man.
And he was a very good man, but
Enough.
It's been 24/7 expanded newscasts with funereal music. I mean, it was...
Well, every city does that for somebody special. Like we would do that. We did that, I think, when the patriarch of the Steeler family, Art Rooney, died. Yeah. But, okay, so you've had it. But, you know, we sort of claim him a little bit of our own because he's from Donora, PA, which is one of our little river towns here. And I consider that Pittsburgh area.
Well, you should be very proud of him because the thing that
guy.
speaks the best of him was he was totally and just naturally colorblind, and then he was he was insistent on it in his clubhouses.
And part of that was because he was from Donora,
well,
which
that's
was
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying he was that was just clearly ingrained in him. That was who he was, and
well, he grew up in a city that was a mix of every imaginable. These are all hard workers, blue collar workers, and every ethnic group.
And they all played together.
And they played together, and they went to school together, and so he was like a true American in the way we like to think of ourselves. I mean, a product of that environment in which there were no distinctions. And I saw a quote where he said, unlike in some cities where, the Italians go live with the Italians, the Poles live with the Poles, this and that didn't happen in Donora, maybe because it was so small, or what's the point, but I don't know. So, Stan Musial, a great ball player.
He lived that way, and he lived that way in places and in times where other people didn't live that way,
right.
And in that sense, he really was a beacon.
Right.
And for that, he deserved all of this due. But boy, did it go on.
It's still going on, I bet. Did they bury him yet?
Oh no! I mean, there's public. On Thursday, I think there's an 8-hour public visitation and then a private funeral the next morning.
Okay, so it ain't over.
Oh no! He's lying in state in the basilica.
Okay, well. They stand the man. So Chuck writes, Lynn, I agree with you. The Obamas walking down Pennsylvania Avenue made me nervous. It occurred to me, particularly when they were watching the parade, that the glass enclosure viewing stand is a symbol of the box that this family has to live in day after day. Actually, the fishbowl box, where we can look in at them, but they can't quite get out. Chuck writes, I saw them sitting in that glass box and thought to myself that the presidency is a prison of sorts. Yes, it is. Without
well, it was Prince Harry was being interviewed this morning. He's coming back from Afghanistan. And he was talking about how much he treasured
his time there.
Being at war.
Because he was a regular person.
Because he was left alone. Because he had a regular life, living, what other regular people lived.
Yeah, I can't. You try to put yourself, you try to imagine that life, and wow. I mean, there's a lot of perks that would come with it, but.
Yeah, but I don't agree with the people that say, well, you get this, so you don't get to complain. Yes, they sure as hell do. Well, he didn't have a choice about whether he was born into this family or not.
Oh,
you mean have some? People should get some little corner of their lives private.
Right. And you have to figure that within the walls of the White House, and they can be, but out in public, and I don't know that they ever get that chance again. You're all once. It's really hard to be anybody but the, major celebrity that you are. There's no getting away from it for the rest of their lives.
No, and everybody can't be Bill Clinton and just in love with all of it.
Right. Hey, did you see him when Beyonce was singing? He was like craning his neck to check her out. He was. You could see right in the back. He was really looking. She is gorgeous.
Yeah, she is. Although I was a little tired of the belters by the end of the inaugural.
That's just the way Americans like their singing now.
I don't see how anybody's vocal cords can last for more than 30 seconds.
Well,
my favorite was the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir.
They were wonderful, and I love the Poet. That was one.
I love the Poet too. I thought I really liked that poem.
I did too, and I want to. We got to get that poem. That I thought was of all the poems I've heard on inaugurals. That was the one I liked the best. And
again, there were so many lines that just reached out and grabbed my heart. You know,
right.
He was talking as an American to other Americans.
Right. It was wonderful.
It was really wonderful.
And he's a Cuban American and gay. I love all of that. Medgar Evers' widow. Wow. Everything. It was really, I thought, incredibly wonderful. I really thought. So, I don't know if I have anything else to say.
No, I don't know.
But every time the
either. But I enjoyed my day lost to watching it.
Every time, though, that the Congress, and like when they went into the Congressional Hall, Congress makes me crazy. It just does. The phoniness, the baloney-ness, you can see it, the way they interact. God, I can't stand them. I really have trouble. And how do these Republicans go back to being the intransigent obstacle to any movement? I mean, they failed in their mission in his first term. Their mission was to deny him a second term. That was all they cared about.
Right.
To make sure
they don't have that anymore.
No.
So they might as well do some work.
They might as well. But I think the party is just, it's like a shipwreck right now.
Well, the party's totally dysfunctional, and it's unleadable. And it's, there's a reason that you have so many long-term Republican Congress people dropping out.
Yeah.
They just don't want to do it anymore.
No. And no, they don't.
It's a waste of their time. Why should they do it?
Because they like being on TV?
Well, there's a lot of them that just go there and do the work, like the congresswoman from Cape Girardeau here who is resigning this week, Joanne Emerson. And she's a moderate Republican. I mean, I know why she's coming home.
Well, it's like Olympia Snow said enough. I mean, you can't... If you're a moderate Republican, I don't know how you've stood it this long. I mean, you look at if they weren't tossed out by the Republican voters, if they managed to somehow survive because they came from a state that liked them or a district that liked them, they still were frozen out of any... I don't know how. This is where, the Tea Party guys, great job, guys. You finished them off. The Tea Party finished off the Republicans. Remember when they seemed...
Well, and the number of... I mean, when they plot, when they track terrorist activity, the one place, where they have not... Where terrorist activity is increasing is among these far-right, homegrown, far-right, white, homegrown, cells that exist in our country.
Here, I got it right here. That was actually what I was going to talk about next, Susan. But let me take...
you see, we're sisters. And
I know, we think alike.
Yeah,
I think alike. Because this is a fascinating study that has come out of Westpoint.
Out of West Point, y'all.
Yeah, and Westpoint says, hey, because we're concerned with, national security, I think we better keep our eye on some of the folks right here in this country. And they specifically call them far-right organizations. So, there you have it. We'll be back, tell you what this Westpoint study shows.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is a lung disease that robs people of their ability to breathe. As many as 24 million Americans suffer from COPD, also known as chronic bronchitis or emphysema, and half of them don't know they have the disease. If you or someone you love is over 35 and has smoked more than 100 cigarettes in their lifetime, visit driveforcopd.org and take the screener, then take that to your doctor. I'm Jeff Stoltz, and I drive for COPD.
Pittsburgh City Paper's annual winter guide is available now. Pick up one today for the best wintertime events in Western PA. Plus, Gin Blossoms, Morrissey, and Chris Webby. Pittsburgh City Paper, available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania, and on the web at pghcitypaper.com, and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
Okie doke. By the way, Susie writes, did you see the look on Boehner's face during the inauguration? He looked like he was in pain. Well, there was somebody sitting there. I know who was on the who got one of the, the seats behind the president and was there, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out why. Because he's not elected to anything at the. Newt Gingrich was there with Callista. How do they get? What would that be?
Well, maybe he scores. Maybe it's an honorary former Speaker of the House gets an invitation.
Maybe.
He was heard to say that he liked Obama's speech.
He said there were just a few things he didn't think. He's an operator. So this is freaking out. Remember when after the first inauguration, one of the first sort of things that created an uproar about this, commie who had just become the president, was when his Homeland Security chief, Janet Napolitano, put out a report, an assessment, and in the assessment, she said that we needed to keep an eye on some of these far-right organizations, who would be considered terrorist organizations, and also some returning vets who were a little off the whatever. All hell broke loose. And that was from the right. How dare you call people, just because you don't agree with our politics, terrorists? And I remember being so miserable when the White House and Napolitano, they backed up. They didn't push it. They just surrendered, which was a indication of a lot to come, right? So this is what's so wonderful, is now this report is coming out of the Combating Terrorism Center at Westpoint Military Academy. There is a center there that is specifically, it's a research center that is all about looking for and defining the potential dangers of that terrorism poses to the United States. And so when we think terrorism, what are we always thinking? We're thinking of people outside the U.S., right? There's they say, according to the report, I'll read from it. It's titled Challengers from the Sidelines, Understanding America's Violent Far Right. And the assessment by the Combating Terrorism Center says that since 2007, there has been a dramatic rise in the number of attacks and violent plots originating from individuals and groups who self-identify with the far right of American politics. Now, this thing was written by the director of the Terrorism Studies Center. And he says in the report, I mean, obviously it's a big report, but that he broke it down. He said that there are three distinct ideologies that exist in the American violent far right. It repeats throughout the report, American violent far right. There are three ideologies. There's the racist white supremacy movement. There is the anti-federalist movement, and there is a fundamentalist movement. What I can't believe is, are you hearing people freaking out about this?
No.
I mean, no, the fundamentalists or the anti-federalists? What are they, laying low? Of course I don't. And he says, when he talks about fundamentalist movement, he says he's including Christian identity groups, and that also includes something like the Aryan Nation. So that's Christian identity. Fundamentalists get all.
Some of them might be cross-referenced.
Right. They intertwine with the sort of racial
in the Venn diagram of terrorist organizations, they overlap.
Anyway, here's something else from the report from Westpoint. Findings indicate that it is not only feelings of deprivation that motivate those involved in far-right violence, but also the sense of empowerment that emerges when the political system is perceived to be increasingly permissive to far-right ideas. So what Westpoint is saying there is, hey guys, because the Republican Party has
ventured so far from the mainstream,
this has empowered the loons. That's exactly what they just said there. It's not just feeling like they're on the short end of the stick, which is what we used to think. But now they are empowered because the established political system appears to be on their side a lot. So the report says that the rise in attacks,
they just see themselves as the army of the righteous.
Right.
This is why there is a Second Amendment, because it will be their duty.
That's right, to take down the government.
That's right.
And it's true that the lingo's more incendiary, and the fact that you have office holders like, the Texas Attorney General or even the Texas governor or this people in the establishment, all Republicans, who mouth much of the same rhetoric that these dangerous, violent people assert. So the report out of the Combating Terrorism Center at Westpoint says that the rise in terrorist attacks in the 21st century were significant. Although in the 1990s, the average number of attacks per year was 70. The average number of attacks per year in this century was 307. Which is a rise of more than 400%. The study found that presidential election years are characterized by an increase in far-right violence. And it suggests that in contentious political times, the far right is more inclined to engage in violence. Oh, my God. And listen, this is out of Westpoint.
Well, I mean, but let's just step back for a second. And, I mean, at least I'm not surprised by this.
No, I'm not. But I'm loving.
Westpoint wrote it down.
That's right. What's the right wing going to say now, that Westpoint's a communist outfit? That the
they're an arm of the government, Missy.
Oh, okay. Here's what else they say. The number of the study found that the number of Republicans in the House was positively correlated with an increase in far-right violence. Do you believe that? The study posits that this could mean that those groups on the far right, these violent groups, believed that these Republican legislators might be, quote, more tolerant of their activities, or possibly that the high expectations of far-right activists during a conservative legislature were not fulfilled. Whatever, there's a
people like Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck give them tacit approval to do whatever it is they want to do.
Right. And these crazy utterances that you hear out of Republicans and office holders, this is, oh, wow. So I am thrilled that this report came out. Apparently, yes, the right wing is reacting in rage.
It just goes to show you how those liberals can invade even,
Right.
any college campus, even Westpoint.
Right. A conservative blogger, Pamela Geller, called the report an appalling attempt to demoralize loyal Americans and whitewash the Islamic threat. See, according to this crowd, the right-wingers, the only terrorists are Islamists.
And, what part about Oklahoma City don't they remember?
Exactly right. What part of the bombing at the Olympics in Atlanta? What part of the abortion bombings and killings of doctors? What about the posse comitatuses and the this and that's and these people, and they're growing. They used to just like hang out in little enclaves in Wyoming, right, or something, or Montana. But they're everywhere, and in fact, they are seeing this wonderful Republican House as an entity that agrees with them.
On a street not far from my street that's actually a public highway, but it looks like a suburban street, there is now a section of it that's going to be cleaned up by a birther group.
You're kidding.
No. We've already been here before because the Ku Klux Klan adopted part of a highway. And the Supreme Court said that they had to let them.
Yeah, they want to clean the highway, you got to let
Right,
them.
so then they renamed the stretch that they were going to clean the Rosa Parks Highway.
I love that. So does the KKK clean the Rosa Parks Highway?
I don't know, but I don't know what we can do here. Yeah, they did. And then
so the birthers, you could rename that part of the street what? Barack Hussein Obama Boulevard.
Obama Way.
Oh, dear Lord. Well, I don't
know.
But
it's the same thing. I mean, everybody's going, oh, can we stop with these adopt-a-highway stuff?
Okay, Ansel writes, I was a moderate centrist Republican for years. I became an independent when the party shifted so far to the right that I didn't recognize it anymore. There's no place for me in that party anymore. I like to say that I didn't leave the party, it left me. Well, you ain't alone there, Ansel. I know a lot of people agree. During the inaugural coverage yesterday, Chris Matthews was talking about Pennsylvania moving toward percentage electoral vote distribution. He went on to say that there are 18 more states moving in that direction. He said that the Republicans see the shift in demographics and know they can only win by changing the rules of the game. Susan, there's a move afoot in all of these states like ours. Wisconsin is another one. A state that is controlled by Republican governors and Republican legislatures, but that go for the Democrat in national elections.
Right.
And what they're going to do now, and they've already figured out that if they pulled this off before, the legislature, I know here in Pennsylvania, is going to try to change the way we apportion our electoral votes so that it won't be winner take all, which is what almost all states do, but that it'll have to do with congressional districts and yada, 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 yada. And they figured out a way, just like they always figure out a way to hamstring democracy.
Well, first they gerrymander the districts.
That's right.
And then they attach the votes to those gerrymandered districts.
They engage in voter suppression, the voter ID stuff they're doing. But you see, my rage is at Democratic voters. My anger is at these idiots who think they only have to vote every 4 years.
Right. You have to turn these people out, and you have to work to turn them out. And you have to reset. You have to gut back in and gerrymander these things back.
That's right. It's going to take a long time.
It's going to take a long time. And around, where I live, it's nigh impossible.
And the thing is that no, they can pull this kind of crap off. You've seen them do it. And if you can't win fair and square with, one vote, one person.
That's the Republican motto.
It is now. It's cheat. It's rig it. Rig it through gerrymandering, rig it through then not allowing the way we've always voted with, winner take all. It's fascinating to see. And they're just right out in the open about it. So, we're...
No, they still think they're the cleverest kid in the room.
Well, I don't know how they could think that when they just had their clocks cleaned. All right. Okay, one quick sweet story before we go. Did you hear about the cat?
The one that found its way home?
Yeah, in Florida. This is a cat that was gone for 2 months. Its owners, why people would take a cat on vacation, I don't know.
Well, because, my in-laws used to, because they would go away for a long time.
Okay. Well, and I think they had a motorhome or something like that. Anyway, the cat got out when they were at the Daytona 500. And the cat, they looked and looked and looked and looked and looked, and they couldn't find the cat. They figure the cat's gone. They went home and grieved. And how many years later?
2 months or so.
Months and months. Little 4-year-old tortoiseshell Holly was found. Well, a neighbor, somebody who lived right near where these people lived, saw this cat who could barely stand up, could barely meow, was emaciated, took it in and fattened it up, and then took it to a vet, and the vet checked for a microchip, and it turns out the cat lived like a few blocks. It almost made its way all the way home. And over 200 miles, its claws worn down. It's, And here's what they're saying. We really don't know how a cat does that. Because research shows that while we do have research on how birds and even turtles and other, migratory species know where they're going, having a lot to do with magnetic clues that they pick up, there's no sense that cats would have this ability, because cats move around landscapes memorizing locations by smell and by sight. But this cat would not have had a clue.
Unless they were looking out the window.
Well, they say, there's only like anecdotal stuff, but it is it's even unusual for dogs to pull this kind of thing off, even though you hear these.
But they do.
Not a lot, though. Here are the only ones that are, I guess, known recently. Howie, an indoor Persian in Australia, who ran away in 1978 while his family was on vacation, traveled 1,000 miles and made it back home. Also, a Siamese in Black Notley, England, repeatedly hopped a train and disembarked at White Notley Station, and then walked several miles back to Black Notley.
He just wants to do it. Well, that one's easier because you figure he just followed the train track back.
But he got on the train! He hopped on the train.
I understand he hopped on the train, and then he'd get off at the next stop and walk back.
How would he know how to get funny? He's too funny. I love him. Okay, that's it. That's it. Susan, feel better?
I will, thank you.
Okay. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. And tomorrow, Mr. Potter should return, and we'll talk some more. Have a great day.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.